Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mind Your Business Show. I am your host, Milt Walker, joined today by none other than Tony Calloway, the Private Money Godfather. How are you today, sir?
Maestro, man, I'm so much better because you back, man. I tell you, last week I have to give her Sandra a lot of credit. She did a phenomenal job.
Great job, great
But after
job.
over, yeah, I compliments for Sandra. But after over a year, you and me on Saturday mornings, it was, it was. I'm just glad you're back, man. Glad you're back. Okay. And to
I
everybody,
appreciate
we're
it.
glad you're back too here for the Mind Your Business Show. It is a now sunny, beautiful day here in Columbus, Georgia. And today we have a very special guest who hails from what I call my Mecca, Roberta, Georgia. And that is none other than the candidate for mayor, Martha Jo McAfee. Martha, how are you doing today?
I am super great. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you having me. Good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you too, and glad to have you on the Mind Your Business Show. Now, everybody, we this is a new, and I certainly see it as timely because my hometown has an election coming up in November, and so here we are, probably less than a month away, and I think this is a great opportunity for me to share this platform for those in Roberta who are tuning in and will see this on Facebook and YouTube to get to know, if you don't already know, the candidate, but most importantly, not only know her personally, but understand what her position is, what her agenda is, what her plans are should she be elected. And I certainly hope that y'all are registered and that you'll turn out and vote. But now, for those of you who are not from Roberta, and I encourage everybody to take the opportunity to go see Roberta, Georgia. It's a lovely place. But, there's some aspects that I do want to bring forward in terms of the importance of political influence as it relates to business, economic development, things that do affect the area that we focus on here on the Mind Your Business Show. So with the maestro's help, we're going to acknowledge any folks who tune in. We certainly appreciate it. We're going to get the shout outs and all that other stuff, but we do want to give Martha Jo plenty of time to share with us her thoughts. But before we get into that, I do want to tell everybody you need to get into the 10,000 Dreams Challenge, people. I tell you, this thing is kicking. We had Bobby Jean, who just happened to be from Roberta, on last week. But there are a lot of other people who want to profile, highlight, and get involved in their efforts to hit $100,000 in revenue over 12 to 18 months through the Mind Your Business Show's 10,000 Dreams Challenge. So if you have not gone to privatemoneysyndicate.com, go to the second item on the menu, go ahead and get registered so that you can become a certified dreamer and have your shot at some of the great prizes and giveaways, but also the support of the Private Money Syndicate advisors to help you to reach your business and your real estate investing goals. Got to do it, because like we were telling Bobby Jean last week, Martha Jo, we're going to pour it on you. Okay. We want to make some serious heroes, some incredible success stories to put on our wall of fame. So you guys get geared up. So Martha, you ready?
I am ready. Thank you.
All right. Now we have thousands of viewers, so we want folks to get to know a little bit about you. So I call this a human interest story. So help all of our viewers get to know what we so benevolently know the person as Martha Jo McAfee.
Well, I guess my pride and joy are my children. I know we always talk about children, but I do have two grown and gone boys, young men who I'm extremely proud of. They're doing well in their prospective lives. Born and raised in Roberta, Crawford County area. Relocated to Fort Valley for a couple of 3 years, but not long. I had to come back to Roberta where my roots are.
I hear you.
Yeah, my mom still lives like 3 miles from me. So if I want to go out and see her and take a nap on her couch, I can still do that. So I love doing that. I'm a breast cancer survivor, 12 years. So, I do a lot in the field of promoting, getting mammograms and having ladies take care of themselves. So I celebrate that every year. Hearing that you have cancer, it does something to you when you just hear that word. So it changed my life and my outlook on life a lot. So do a lot in the community. Have a passion for ballroom dancing, and we talk about business. That was one of the things I remember in 2008 when things went crazy. I heard something that said, hey, find something that you like doing, a passion. So I do some instructing in ballroom dancing and Chicago stepping, and just enjoy life, like to travel.
I tell you, well, I
Nice.
didn't. I remember my cousin Harold was big in ballroom dancing and
Yes.
stuff.
He actually introduced me to it. I
Is that right?
started out dancing with him. Yep, Harold and I, we would travel and dance, and I really miss him.
Well, that is well. Thank you. We all miss him, but yeah, I remember I actually went to the YMCA here in Columbus, Georgia, and took some classes, and for some reason I stopped and stuff. But yeah, I said, hey, look, at our age, we ain't hanging out at the club no more. We gotta we gotta do it ballroom style.
Yes.
Yeah. But in as much as you mentioned that you're a cancer survivor and that you're active in that awareness and things like that, I do recognize, because it does make you realize how valuable and precious life is, and that you want to use your life in service to your community. So now let me ask this question in terms of, you want to serve the community of Roberta, Georgia. Now, I've been in and out of Roberta my entire life, but I can't say that, outside of the family and a few friends I would run into and just happen to see. Tell everybody, because again, a lot of people don't know about Roberta. Talk about the city, the community, what's beautiful about it, and some opportunities that you feel you want to have a chance to touch on. But just as an overview, if you would, I'd appreciate you doing that too.
Well, I mean, Roberta, 1,000 people on a good day. Small town, 2 red lights. But that's what a lot of people like, and that's what I like about Roberta. It's quiet. It's a close-knit community. I seen a time I knew everybody. If you don't know everybody, you know somebody that knows them. And so that's what I like about Roberta. Just that small town feel. And I think I was actually looking at our website, and it says a small town with a big heart. So if something happens, the people just come together and take care of each other. And that's what I like about Roberta. But we go to at 7:00. I mean, everybody goes to sleep. And I was looking at some demographics, and it's like, I think I saw one that said the average age of people in Roberta was like 40, 41. Wow. So we got a lot of young people in Roberta who need things to do, who, we want to improve the quality of life so that you would attract those people. 95% of us drive outside of the community to work. And I think the pandemic kind of brought it to my forefront about Roberta, because I used what was gone. So that the times that I was in Roberta on the weekends, I was okay with sitting at home. Right. It was like you say your Mecca, it was like my quiet time. But then when the pandemic hit, I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I can't travel. What are people doing? And I think that's what kind of made me start really looking at Roberta differently. But you got to find that balance, because you have those people who like that quiet. So I like the fact that Roberta goes to sleep at 7:00. So you have to find a balance between serving those who want something to do and those who are okay with the way it is.
I certainly understand that. Now, if you would, one last thing on a personal note, you've worked at the city level in a capacity, and I think that's important for people to really understand what that provides to you in terms of perspective as far as city administration and management. So, share that.
Okay, well, first of all, I started actually as a county administrator right here in Crawford County. I serve Crawford County as the county administrator, which means a lot of people, working directly for the elected officials and whatever their agendas are. It's my job to make sure that those policies and their plans were carried out, as long as it was legal. I wouldn't do anything, you want to do something illegal, you're on your own. But as long as their policies kind of followed the laws, that was my job to make sure to implement those. So I did that in Crawford County for 14 years before I went to the city of Fort Valley. In city of Fort Valley, I served them for 16 years, doing pretty much the same thing, whatever the agenda of the mayor and the councils were, whatever policies and plans, their strategic plans. It was my job to kind of make sure that those plans were carried out. So that's pretty much what I've done for both the city and on the county level for about 30 years.
Okay, awesome. Well, like I said, you've gotten your hands dirty at it, so I say this wouldn't be your first rodeo, just a different seat. So certainly want to say thanks for your willingness to serve. I'll say our community, and because I thought about moving back to Roberta from Columbus, and it ain't over yet. So who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
you'll be back. It's in your blood. You'll be back. And
Well,
you know,
I
it's funny.
jokingly say, I said, there's a Callaway Drive in Roberta, but there are no Callaways in Roberta left, since my dad passed. So I kind of think about that. So, like I said, who knows? But at this point, I want to ask Maestro if we got any folks who are tuning in, so we can say good morning to, and any acknowledgments and shout outs. So now that you're back, we'll let you take over what you do and do so well.
Yeah, so we have a few people chiming in this morning. Ebony says good morning, everyone. And she says, welcome back, Milton. Of course, she's a friend of mine, so she knows my whole middle name. So. And Horace Solomon is joining us. He says, good morning, classmate and family. Good morning, sir.
Hey.
And welcome back. Zane Perry is joining us, says good morning. Bobby Jean Ford just joined us, said good morning as well. And we got a lot of other people watching, so everybody's interested to hear what the news is about this small town called Roberta. That's
Awesome.
That's going to be bigger here in the horizon.
Fantastic. Well, hey, Bobby Jean, glad you're back. We're excited to have had you on the show last week. And Horace, he's one of my classmates. So, man, I appreciate the fact that you tuned in. And Zane's a client of mine. He's up in Virginia somewhere, U.S. Marines. So thank you for your service, Zane. And thanks for making it because he and I were talking. So he did tune in. So, man, thank you so much. All right, we have Martha Jo McAfee, who is a mayoral candidate for Roberta, Georgia. And we've gotten to know you a little bit. So now let me ask you this question, because it kind of takes us into this zone of talking about your candidacy. What made you decide to run for mayor? I mean, that's an interesting thing. And I'll preface it because some people have put me up, because in Columbus, I'm kind of popular. Probably I've gone into reclusion a bit, but I think they were just trying to split the ticket and stuff. I hadn't even thought about running for mayor, but it was flattering. But you made a decision of your own provocation to do that. So please, if you would, what led you to make this decision?
And it's so funny because you made a comment just a while ago about being in a seat. I've been in that seat as a staff member working for elected officials. I always said I'd never be an elected official, had no desire to be an elected official, but I learned never say never. So here I am.
Yeah, that's right.
Big on community service. I felt like with my background, with my experience, that I could contribute to Roberta. I originally was, someone reached out to me because originally the incumbent was not going to run. And I had a conversation with him a few months ago, and he told me he was. So I was a little surprised that he wasn't going to run. But when they reached out to me and say, hey, we think you'd be good. We know your history. We know your background. The incumbent's not running. We would love to have you. We would support you. So that sparked me to thinking about it and praying about it. And so I decided to go ahead and put my name in the hat. But I do believe that because of the way I've worked in the past with bringing people together, building consensus, volunteering. I mean, people take family for granted sometimes, but no matter what I try to do, my family just rally around me. Like, it didn't matter how crazy the idea is. I want to thank them publicly. My brother and sister. I mean, I don't care what I say. I want to do. They're like, and they act like I'm running for the president of the United States right now. I mean, my campaign is like,
that's good.
And I'm sitting there like, okay, y'all, we don't have to do all of that. No, we got to do this. So, because of the people that came to me, it made me feel good that they felt like I could contribute, and that's what I plan to do.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, like I said, I've never really been away from Roberta. I've been stationed away where I didn't get there very often, but I remember certain things over my life, like when 341 got wide into 4 lanes, we got sidewalks and all that stuff. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but just in the past 5 or 6 years, I finally remembered what my home address was, because most of my life we didn't have a street address.
Route
All the
one.
mail went to the PO box. So people say,
okay.
"Which I can tell you how to get there." There was no street addresses, and so I don't know how long ago back that changed, but then the address changed from something. I said, "Okay," so now I know it's 651 North Duggar Avenue. But anyway, but you know, a lot of beautiful things about small communities is that progress may be slow, but in the grand scheme of the world evolving, and I want to talk about economics a little bit here. The world is changing, and being part of some statewide and local or regional authorities, the workforce investment, where it encompasses 5 counties for the lower Chattahoochee, which goes all the way out to Taylor County. We realized that, you know, the internet and certain things have created opportunities, but at the same time, there are certain what they call divides that are sometimes racial divisions, sometimes socioeconomic divisions, sometimes functionally because of education or transportation. So let me just ask, you know, what are 2 or 3 of the biggest challenges that you feel Roberta, or threats Roberta is facing, that could take it backwards as opposed to giving an opportunity to move forward for the broader community?
Well, you know, I think just in Roberta, people not having access to good internet. You talk about going back to the pandemic and people having to be home, and a lot of teleworking that could have occurred. And when you talk about Roberta, we are talking about a 1.5 mile circle. But because if you ask a lot of people, they'll say they're from Roberta and they may live out in the county.
Right.
So you go from 1,000 people to a bigger circle of influence when you start looking at the economics of Roberta. So I think not having access to internet, there have been some movement toward expanding broadband out into our areas. I am on the development authority here, and we are constantly working, trying to get businesses in here, because the industrial park, you know, is right on the outskirts of town.
Right.
And a lot of people would even think it was inside the city limits just because of where it's located. But being able to provide those resources for our citizens that can show them that just because you live here in Roberta, there are opportunities to have business, the home-based businesses. You developing a product, being able to market it worldwide, getting into those markets. There are a lot of opportunities, but I think our people aren't exposed to them. I've been telling people about Private Money Syndicate. I'm like, you all need to get hooked up, because on my timeline, I'm seeing all these young folk who are, you know, trying to start businesses, want to do this, want to do that. But really, just to have the thought that you want to own a business, there's a lot more to that. And there are resources out here that people in Roberta don't know about, because a lot of times we're not telling them about it. We're not giving them opportunities. We're not providing the forums for people to come and learn about those opportunities.
Well, you know, all those things make me think about back when I was younger. There were a lot of jobs. I mean, not Columbia, Roberta had a number of industries. It was largely oriented around agriculture. You had logging. You used to call it pulpwood back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Had the sawmills. You know, we had, you know, everybody did business in Roberta, but then with transportation, everybody goes to the surrounding Fort Valleys, Macons, to work, and obviously oftentimes to spend their dollars. However, you know, I always suggest that people look at, okay, what do you have? Because as you and I have had previous conversations, there are other small rural communities that look at something that they have that they make a big deal out of, that draws economic activity from outside, even if it's episodic, to come to, and it kind of creates a brand identity for that community. So let me ask you, as the mayor, and we're gonna claim this in faith, based on merit, certainly. What are some of the ideas that you have that could help to brand Roberta and take advantage of some of the things that are the highlights and profiles of the community that we're from?
And I think that's exactly what we got to do. We got to find our niche. You look at the rich history, and I always go back to expanding it a little bit. When you start talking about Musella, it was like 3-4 miles up the road, and the peach, and there's no reason why we couldn't capitalize on our connection with Musella and the peaches. We got a train depot downtown where the Chamber of Commerce is actually located right now in a beautiful park downtown. We just don't have any opportunities where we bring our people together under any kind. I say our people, I'm talking about the citizens here, but also farmers markets. We rich in agriculture and growing our own vegetables and stuff like that. Why not bring that to our town and have people come in?
Yeah.
Just give them a reason to come.
Right.
Gentleman just opened a business downtown where he makes homemade furniture out of pine trees and pine wood and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
There's a niche for that. And I just think we need to find what that is. And I say we because that's what it is. It's a we thing. It's not a Martha thing. I'm big on volunteers coming in, setting up task force and groups to just kind of strategize about where we want Roberta to be, what we want Roberta to look like, what are the things that we need to do to make sure that we can survive and strive. People do strategic plans and they put them on a shelf. I know Roberta has a plan because the law requires it.
Right.
What's that plan? And just because somebody new comes in, don't mean you scrap everything. And then that's part of when elected officials come in, they start all over. Why are we starting all over? If it was a good idea, it's still a good idea. It may need to be tweaked, but it's still a good idea. So let's look at some of those plans that have been on the shelf and get them implemented if they're good ideas.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. And I'm big on saying when you come up with the what, you got to also have the who. Who's going to do these things. Right. And I think the key thing is energizing, who's there. And I guess the unfortunate thing for me is I don't know who's doing what in the community, but I do know there's a rich legacy of very active people. And like you said, a lot of times we think of Roberta, but it's more like we think of Crawford County because the city limits has really been an imaginary line because people kind of live and work and operate fluidly. They just claim Roberta. But, I do want to encourage this is important to me because, as I say, I have interest in we have family property there in Roberta. And this is something I told my kids, it's important to be active, which is what you're talking, active in your community. Yeah. Because there's going to be somebody sitting around a table making decisions about things that affect you. And it said, if you don't have a seat at that table, you definitely need to have the ear of somebody who does. And the most effective way to do that is for you to be visible and be involved. And so from the standpoint, that's what you have a background and legacy, and that's part of why you're here. But I guess from the standpoint of anybody who's going to turn out to vote, don't let your vote be the only activity that you engage in for the benefit of the future of the city. Get your hands dirty, and join in and make some things happen. So let me go to the maestro. We had a few more minutes go by. Anybody else that we want to say good morning to? And anybody got any questions? If you got questions for the candidate for Mayor of Roberta, this is your chance to ask it on a public forum to see what you got to say to you. All right. So if you're tuning in live, go ahead and let's hit her with some questions here since they're not having any public debate or anything like that. Certainly we'd like to have her share her thoughts and her position on anything that you want to ask. But yeah, Maestro, who we have out there?
Yeah, so we have Barb Dickey joining us. Says good morning, hometown family.
Hey,
Ryan Calloway is joining us. Says good morning, Ken folks. Barb Dickey is joining us saying hello. And Bobby Jean Ford says, Martha, I am so proud of you. Ryan Calloway says the best candidate is the one who loves everybody and wants to do right for everybody, which is very true, very true. Yeah, person for the people. And Alicia Brooks is joining us, says good morning, and she says Musella in the house.
All right.
And then she also calls on James Webb to come in. And we're being watched by quite a few people. Barb Dickey is saying, I agree that Roberta needs that community niche that invites not only the local people, but also attracts outsiders to invest in the town, which is true. Mm-hmm. That's very true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's it for right now.
That's it for now.
Oh, well,
Okay.
we do have a question. Hold on. We did get a question.
Oh,
So
cool.
Barb
All right.
Dickey,
First question.
it just came in. Barb Dickey says, please speak about how the city growth and development impacts the county at large.
All right, Martha Joe.
Yeah, and that's why when I mentioned earlier about people see Roberta is actually a 1.5 circle, 1.5 mile circle, but people who are in the unincorporated areas claim Roberta as their home, and the thing that I think has really, I'm gonna say, hurt or stifled Roberta is that even the things that we have here, because people live closer to the Macons and the Warner Robins in the Fort Valley, they tend to take their money and go to those places. People
Right.
spend their money where they work. And for Roberta can impact people out in the county if they come in here and support it. I had a guy say, we need a McDonald's. I said, no, you don't need a McDonald's. You have a Jersey Wings uptown that makes the best Mexican burger I ever had. So Roberta can affect the people out in the county if they would support it and not just drive through, hang a right at the traffic light and go to Macon, or hang one at the left and go to Fort Valley. But yeah, Roberta growing could have a significant impact on the people in Crawford County because it give them something to do. It'll give them places to. My mom lives out in the county, but I have to buy her groceries somewhere else and bring them to her. But if the people in Crawford County would support a grocery store, because that's one of the biggest things I get hit with now is, what are we gonna do? We need a grocery store in Roberta.
That was one of the questions that came out. Yep, that's actually one of the questions that came up.
Well, when we had a grocery store, people still bought the groceries at Publix and Kroger in nearby cities, and naturally the prices are going to be a little bit higher.
At first, yeah.
Yeah, until you get enough people in there buying. Right. Okay, if I can save 50 cents by buying milk in Macon, you're not thinking about the impact that will have on that local grocery store who's trying to provide those groceries for those people who don't work outside, those older people who don't have the resources to go outside.
Yeah, and because they don't have the volume, right? So that if they're not getting the volume that they need to get the prices that they can sell it to you for a cheaper price, then they can't sell it to you for cheaper because they don't have enough people buying from them. That's the way the business works. You got to have that volume. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have a Dollar General place that has those staples. You can go in there, you can get the canned goods and you can get some items. But when you start looking at meats and fresh veggies and that kind of thing, that's not available. We're a food desert. I am on the Crawford County Development Authority, and we've had several people that come to us and want to talk about incentives and try to get them located in Crawford County, but the dollars just don't work. The money's not there. And is that our fault, the community fault, for not supporting when we had a grocery store? I don't know. But that is something that has been constantly on our agenda from the development authority standpoint now, is trying to figure out a way to get, if not a full-blown grocery store, an option.
Well, I'll throw this idea out, and I won't pose it as a solution, but I'm a member of the West Georgia Farmers Co-op, and we're actually working to open a credit union, grocery store, and shopping, I'll call it a retail complex in LaGrange, in an area that, if y'all hadn't heard the term food desert, Roberta will be a food desert. Okay, they're in that part of town. There's no convenient place to go get, whole meal type provisions. And, from the standpoint, the unique thing, and this goes back to the point of a uniqueness, the foundational opportunity in this case is all the West Georgia farmer co-op participants grow organic food. So it's all organic, and they have farmers markets periodically. So again, I'll just say at the beginning, you got to get people coming to something. And so from the standpoint that, if it's a farmer's market, because, we see food stands, but there are probably other people who could come and participate, and that gets people coming together, and that creates at least an economic foundation. So one of the things that we've started doing is when people come to the farmer markets event, we tell them about the credit union, because we have to raise $1 million and have to have so many people who are shareholders to open the credit union. And we've been working on that for a couple of years. Okay. And so we're at the point now where we're about to launch into actually establishing the credit union. And we've identified a location where it's going to be built. And we're going to have the farmers market, credit union, a commercial kitchen where the produce can be packaged and everything, as well as sold off to other resources. So that goes to thinking outside the box. Like I said, what do we have that can start the process? To Milt's point, it's kind of hard to go from zero to a sustainable model. Right. But how do we start moving in the direction of a sustainable model? Because again, you got to draw those dollars away from, and you can't fault people for convenience. And I mean, if you live on the outskirts of the county near the larger metro areas, yeah, but okay, what would be the reasons why I would want to come to it's not just for the food, but for food trucks, all these other things that you see, all these other communities doing to create events on every given weekend, maybe the first Saturday, when people get their checks and stuff. Right. First weekend of the month or something, because our downtown, I'll get off of my little conversation. Downtown Columbus used to be dead, okay, a decade ago. And Milt can tell you now, because people started doing stuff on like the one weekend a month, they have bands and stuff in the Broadway, and then a few shops started opening. Now is vibrant and alive. People actually come and to Columbus to come to our downtown. And the river that was just a mud creek, between us and Alabama, now they got whitewater rafting, going down, constantly. So it's the imagination and the willingness to participate that I think that might be the opportunity, Martha, to bring that energy together to ferment into what people want to see the community have, not overnight, maybe not even over a 4-year term, but certainly in the future. Right. Because like you say, if it's a good idea, the idea can continue even beyond the tenure of anybody who's in an elected position.
Right. And I have a couple of videos that my son has put together for me. And one of them I do talk about, I envision events like a food truck Friday, picnic in the park. We have a nice little park up there, movie night, little playgrounds, anything to start our residents and our people in the county to come into Roberta, and then looking around and going, oh, there's an opportunity right there. There's a open storefront right there. On the ballot also, you have the mayor's race, but there's also a referendum on liquor by the drink. So, or can the people who already have these restaurants, somebody's talking about doing a pizzeria, those kind of businesses, they typically, if they choose to, partner with alcohol. If I want to have a beer, so that referendum, I will tell our viewers, that referendum is also on the agenda, and that's the only way that mayor and council can, if they choose to implement a license for that, the citizens have to give them the authority to do that.
Right.
But I like. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, and I like what you were saying earlier about the development of the community through bringing in programs. Say, for instance, you mentioned the need for broadband internet, which is something that's prevalent in Georgia as a whole. There's a lot of areas in Georgia that need that as well. But if that's one of the hindrances to getting those types of jobs, right, that create economic empowerment for the people who are there, therefore that once they have the money, they don't even, that extra 50 cents that they're spending at the local grocery store is not going to affect them as much as driving to another, city to actually get it and come back, So, and I think it's all part of that same process. And I like how you kind of structured that in saying that's some of the things that you're focusing on, because when you combat it from all of those areas, like what Tony was talking about, from an economic development of the community standpoint as well, then you have a very cohesive, organic growth of the community
Right.
itself. And as that happens, and like Tony said, it may not be in 2, 3, 4 years. It may, but 10 years is very realistic for in a 10-year span for you to have all of these initiatives start to bear fruit. So I think that it sounds like a great idea and a great plan that you have for the city of Roberta. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And it's taking some education too, because working in that environment
Right.
in the public arena all my life, people tend to look at the government as doing things, providing things.
Right.
Want the mayor to do a grocery store. I mean, we can create an environment where a business can be successful,
Right.
but it still takes the people to come together to make those plans happen. And so it's been a
Absolutely.
little. I've learned just in the month of a few weeks that I've been campaigning that people really don't realize the impact that they can have by what you said about being at the table or knowing somebody at the table that you can talk to. People are, I mean, the complacency kind of make me sad, when I talk to some people, and it was like being very complacent about, it's been that way and it'll always be that way. Nothing's going to change. And I'm like, well, that's because we're not engaging.
Not changing it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm big on getting people in and sitting around the table. And like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, what are you going to help me do? What do you want to see done? I'm one person. I got a number. You got a council who city council members who we all got to be on the same page. Everybody's got to kind of want, or the majority anyway, got to want the same thing. So
Right.
what do we do to build that synergy among the leaders that are in Roberta now in Crawford County?
Yeah.
How do we build that consensus? And that's what has to happen for Roberta for anything to happen in Roberta.
All right. And Milt, anybody else tuned in or any other questions?
Yeah, so Cheryl Johnson McLean joined, said, good morning, Martha J. McAfee.
That's my BFFs in second grade.
Oh, okay, awesome.
All right.
And and you answered the question about the grocery store that Alicia Brooks brought up. She says you can save gas by purchasing local grocery stores. I noticed the vegetables and fruit is always better because most of it comes from local growers.
Exactly.
And it's true. And again, I think that ties into your initiatives to bring in these programs and have these people come in, using some of the land to actually grow food. That could be a part of it. And then having those local farmers markets and, creating that type of environment as well. But also, you can do it from the economic development arena as well, and have the people just use the economy itself to help fund those initiatives, right? And so bringing it in from that place, instead of having people come from the outside to come in to try to do something, you do it from the inside. And Ebony says nothing changes until we change, which is true. I mean, you spoke about it yourself, just having somebody, thinking that things will change if you do the same thing, right? And that's not always the case. Sometimes you got to change what you're doing in order to get a different result. Demetria Dawson is joining us, says, can you speak on ideas to get kids, teens involved in the community of Roberta? There used to be a Boys and Girls Club years ago, but now it seems that there is very little involvement, enrichment for the kids of the community. It's a great question.
Right. And one of the things that happened, and I'm going to throw out a law, when the state tried to force communities not to overlap in services. And I believe the recreation department and all of those activities were placed under the county. When you come to the city, there is nothing to do. We talked about from a playground standpoint. One of the programs I learned about, and this, I learned about at a conference I was at a few months ago. They call it Flex. It was Future Leaders and Entrepreneurial Experience, where they go into the high schools and they put a program in that teaches young people all the ins and outs of running a business. And I thought about Tony when I thought about the Private Money Syndicate and how those people could teach them about business, on the business standpoint, what are they going to do when they get out of high school? But when you go around to getting the teens involved, I even thought about maybe some kind of looking for a small scale Rigsby's. You might not know what Rigsby's is. It's in Warner Robins, but it's like an arcade place.
Right. Yeah.
Where the children, the kids, or teens, the type stuff that they like. We can find a space to do something like that, some kind of center where they can come. It can be educational, but the kids, they want something fun to do also.
Right.
So, putt miniature putt games where the families could come and do that. We thought about having a youth leadership type program where you bring the young people in to teach them about community engagement, civic opportunities, volunteerism. Everything got to be about making a dollar. Sometimes it'll be about helping your fellow man, but that can lead to making a dollar.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And on that very point, understanding what economy is, and currency is one thing, but economy is the broader perspective. And like you said, volunteering is providing value and service. It's not necessarily measured in dollars, but in community good. So from the standpoint that it's all part of the holistic value proposition. And, this thought has just been resonating because I've been thinking about my mom, and, and anybody who's from Roberta knows about Betty Calloway and the impact that she made, the power of one person. And it's not just the one person who was the leader, because my mom never held a public office, but she was always very adamant about touching lives and doing what needed to be done. And if I could kind of caption it in those terms, that servant leader mentality. And so Martha, sometimes it's not the person who's leading the band or the conductor is not necessarily the person playing the music, but it's getting all those who want to participate to harmonize, and perform in a manner that is conducive to, the benefit of us enjoying the effort. Because if you play an instrument, you enjoy doing that. That's your art.
Yeah.
But when you're able to come together with a confluence of people who are doing the same thing, then for not only the enjoyment you get from providing it, but for those who enjoy receiving it. Some of the ideas you just threw out, I'm thinking, like I said, I remember playing putt. It used to be real big,
Yeah.
I said, what if Roberta's the putt capital of the world? I mean, it's just amazing as I've traveled around some of the things that communities have become iconic for. And so, as I said, it doesn't take but one person, one idea, but then the energy and the effort to surround that idea to make that change, make that initial change that then has the concentric circles that go out from that. And so, I really appreciate everything as far as the questions, but certainly the last point is you do have these boundaries that are invisible in Roberta between the city and the county. And I know from working again in some regional things that part of that regional process is to break down some of the protocols that keep things from making sense.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, the Boys and Girls Club are right outside the city limits, but it's in the county, and the county has a whole different set of rules and budgets than the city. So why not explore other things like Columbus is a consolidated government, Bibb County's become consolidated. I'm not necessarily proposing that right now, but again, if people recognize a problem, let's bring our solution sets together to take care of the situations. And all rules were made by man. All rules can be changed.
Yes.
But there's got to be a reason why. And so, I'm proposing to you that when you are elected, and we certainly pray that everybody turn out and vote, that those can be some of the conversations. Let's not leave things as they are. Let's put it in the bag, shake it up, pull something new out.
Something different comes.
And I want to just add this to the conversation, because I think from a historical standpoint, if you take a look for the people who are, who want things to stay the same, if you take a historical look at the data at these small towns like that don't shift and change with the way that the current economy, the current world economy, the current, just situations that are happening on a geopolitical, scale, what happens to them historically, right? So that in itself can lead people to the idea of just opening it up and being accepting to the thought that things may need to change, and using that as the first perspective to show people, hey, look, historically, towns who don't do this don't really end up in a good place. So that being said, let's rally together, right? And make that not be the path for Roberta. And I think you're definitely the person for that. And Barb Dickey agrees with me. She says, Martha, I fully support you, even though I don't live in the city or even county now. Roberta definitely needs your expertise and experience, as well as your insight and definitely your knowledge from a business perspective, right? Because most people don't understand, like, running a city is a business. It's actually a business. It's not just, political. So you have to think about things, and you have to be very multifaceted. And just from me getting to know you, I mean, and the answers that you've been given, it seems that you're that person. It seems that you have that vision, that Roberta needs, to help it grow into the future. Because I mean, it's good for people who, and I like how you said it, because it's very inclusive. The people who want things to stay the same. You want it to be a very harmonistic way for that to occur for both people, But you got to think about the future. Think about the children, and somebody brought that up in the comments. Think about those people, because they're the ones who are inheriting this. So that's really the priority, right? If we, as parents, all of us as parents, we always make the priority the future of our children. That's what we got to think about first. And we know on the back end, we're taken care of because the kids are taken care of, right? So as they grow and they develop and they become these outstanding models of citizens in their communities, they're most definitely going to be taking care of us. So, it's a win-win situation. So I think it works out for everybody in that way.
Yeah. And one of the things I do want to focus on is getting younger people involved in the political side. I mean, God bless us. I don't like I'll tell my age. I'm getting ready to be 60 years old. And then when you look at who is serving in our leadership positions. When you look at our leadership positions, people are my age and older, and we got to change that. We got to figure out a way to get young people to understand how important it is for them to have an impact and start getting involved. And Tony, you mentioned your mom. I gotta throw out my Betty Calloway stories. When you talk about people having impact but not being in elected positions, I mean, when my phone would ring and I looked down and it said Miss Betty, I go, oh God, what does she want me to do now? Because she would always like, okay, Martha, you need to do this. Can you do this? I got this contest coming up.
Awesome.
Children. I was cleaning my office out last week, and I have a book. It was a book that she had compiled where she had students that wrote stories and poems and stuff, and she had given it to me because she wanted me to make a copy of it. I still have it. I need to get that to you all. Some of those people, they're like grown now that wrote stories and pictures. I've got it in my office. I need to get it to you. So beautiful.
And ironically, I'm kind of like that with Tony when he calls me. I'm like, oh, Tony, what does he want me to do now? What does he want me to do? But I know it's something good. It's always something good.
She's always pushing. And my most favorite memory of her, and I stick it on my social media pages sometimes. I was in second grade when our schools integrated, and she was my second grade teacher going to third. And she had a conversation with us, and she told all our little brown faces, she said, listen, if you cut a black person and a white person's arm, they both bleed red. We are the same.
Right.
So when you all come back to school next year and you all are integrated with your white brothers and sisters, always know that we are people and we're all the same. And I never forgot that in
Wow.
my second grade class.
Amazing.
I
I got
appreciate you.
chills. I'm sorry. Now I'm about to cry.
I appreciate you
Yeah,
sharing
yeah.
that with me.
That's deep.
And that goes to illustrate the point, the power of one, And just to make that somewhat relevant, I showed my son, it was when Columbus was planning the River Walk and all that stuff. There was a community group about maybe 80 people, and I was part of that. And that was mid-90s, I think it was, like planning Columbus 2010. So to the point of things taking a long time to develop, most people don't realize Columbus has several Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered here. You got Aflac. Everybody's heard of the duck, but most people don't know where the duck comes from.
Right.
The biggest credit card processor in the world, right here in Columbus, Georgia.
Right.
Most people don't realize Coca-Cola was started right here in Columbus, Georgia.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we came up with, this is an idea for you, future mayor, is coming up with a slogan for Columbus. And the slogan we came up with is very fitting for the conversation you were having about people who don't want things to change, but you got to have an eye for the future. And Milt might remember the slogan was what progress has preserved, Wow. And so from the standpoint, Columbus has blossomed in many ways. And I think that some of the things that benefited Columbus would also be a benefit to Roberta by people coming together, hearing the different and sometimes conflicting points of view and aspirations, but finding a way, instead of trying to make it like a sheet where everything's one thread, one fabric, is like a patchwork quilt, where everybody who has their own constituency has a place at the table, has their desires, their needs represented, and all those things considered, but it still fortifies the resources that help us to move in a direction that all now and in the future can benefit from. And that takes leadership. And I think one of the biggest things that's missing in society is people with the courage to put their own agendas aside, but to serve the higher calling. And I would certainly say, as our time is starting to run short, anybody who's willing, they say two things you don't want to see is how laws are made and how sausage is made. I love sausage. And I would certainly say for anybody who puts himself out there to run for a public office, even in Roberta, Georgia, you subject yourself to controversy. Because obviously if there's a race, somebody's got to vote for this one or that one. The most important thing I'm going to say to everybody is vote. But certainly I would encourage everybody to vote for Martha J. McAfee because she cares and she's articulated that. So Martha, as we have a few minutes left, I would say if Milt knows we got any other comments or shout outs, to take those. But then I'd like for you to have the last few minutes to just speak whatever's on your mind, on your heart, to the people who view this, who are from Roberta, and hopefully they'll turn out and vote and get everybody else to come out and vote for you too. So Maestro, we got anybody else we need to speak to? And otherwise we'll turn it over to Martha.
Yeah, so Barb Dickey comes in and says, sounds like Tony needs to get back to Roberta City Council.
Yeah.
Yes, I was thinking consolidated government, Roberta Crawford. That's the idea. Debbie Blasingame comes in and says, so proud of you, sister. I admire the vision you have for Roberta. I've known you all my life, and I know when you put your mind to something, you can make it happen. Praying you get the opportunity to be a blessing to all those of Roberta Crawford. Hashtag servant leadership. Hashtag Martha.
That's my crazy sister.
Martha Joe McAfee for mayor, and she's making sure it's out there. So, as a sister should. And so Barb Dickey says, Miss Calloway was my second grade teacher and my Head Start teacher as well. She was very iconic in Roberta. Bobby Jean Ford says, yes, please go vote. So, yes, you got, everybody's supporting you. So.
All right. So, Martha, you got about 2-3 minutes to let them have it. So please do.
And I really, once again, I will just sincerely thank you, Tony, for bringing me on, and Milt. I appreciate you all. The people keep mentioning about consolidation. There actually was a vote on the ballot in Roberta maybe a couple of years ago, and the people of Roberta turned it down. That was an option. It takes a referendum for that to happen. And I think it passed in the county, but the people within the city limits of Roberta voted it down. So that was discussed as an option. Our people didn't embrace it, so that's that. But I did want to just emphasize to the people. I do have some focus areas that I wanted to address, and because of the time, feel free to go to my Facebook page. I did not make a separate page when I started campaigning, and as some people suggested, I told them, I said, I am who I am. I've been on Facebook since 2009. I didn't want anybody to have to go and try to search and look and see what they could find out about me. I'm transparent. It's all there. Anything you want to know. I'm one of those people who, when I post, most of my posts are public. So it's not like you don't even have to be my friend. Just go and look. You're free to see it. I've lived my life like that all my life, and running for public office didn't change that. You either like me, you don't. You take me for who I am, because that's who I am. But I do think, sometimes with government, we tend to be a monopoly. People have to come to us for our water and sewer, but we don't have to treat them like we are. They have to be our customer. You still have to provide good customer service to them. And I want to do that. Make sure our tax dollars are being spent like we say we're going to spend them. And transparency, some kind of way to let people know what's going on. If they won't come to us, we need to take it to them. Emails, blog, or social media, any kind of way that we can get people engaged. Those are the things that I want to do. And like, once again, I thank you all for having me. I ask people who want to vote for me, thank you. I appreciate you in advance. I just want to go vote. I actually supervised elections for 16 years, and I would get sad because people wouldn't even go. So whether you vote for me or not, go vote anyway. It would still make me happy.
Well, thank you so much, Martha, for running for mayor of our Roberta, Georgia. I want to tell Maestro, man, like I tell people, you ain't lived till you've been to Roberta. So
come visit.
That's right.
Come spend $1, man.
I plan on it. I plan on it. Yeah, definitely. As a matter of fact, I got some ideas for you too,
cool,
Miss Mayor.
Cool.
So I got some ideas for you. Yeah,
awesome.
Definitely.
Well, I do want to say this as we part. We thank you all for tuning in. Please, if you have not, please go to privatemoneysyndicate.com and find out by going to the menu and selecting the 10,000 Dreams Challenge. As future Mayor of Roberta mentioned,
tap in.
Hey, look, I'm from Roberta now. I'm here to help everybody. Bobby Jean will tell you. Okay. All right. Now, all I know is some future millionaires might be sitting right there in that mile and a half circle she was talking about. But you got to reach out and let me touch you, and we'll do some great things together. We also want to encourage everybody to be part of your community. Wherever you are, wherever you see this, be an entrepreneur, be a leader. But for those who have stepped up and said, "Hey, I want to serve my community," give them your support. They're not there to pursue their agenda; they're there to serve you, but they can't do it without you. So I just want to say that I'm proud of you, Martha Joe, and I'm sure that you're going to be successful. And if there's anything else that me or Milt or anybody here at the Private Money Syndicate can do to support your ambitions now and in the future, please feel free to ask. And as I say each and every Saturday, if you're going to go into business and stay in business, you've got to mind your business. And with that, I'm going to let the maestro take us on home. And
that includes running a city. So just be mindful of that. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Miss Mayor McAfee.
I'm claiming it. Thank you.
That's right. That's right. We're gonna speak it to existence. And thank you for joining us. And thank you all for joining us as usual. And make sure you share this out to whoever that you can. Make sure you tell them about the 10,000 Dreams Challenge. Let them know that there's people out here that's working for them and ready to help them see their dreams come to fruition. And with that, I'm going to say peace, and we'll see y'all on the next one. All right.